Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving deep into a world that is completely invisible, but it's everywhere, all around us and even inside of us. It's the world of microscopic life. And trust me, it shapes everything from the food you eat to your very own health.
So let's just start with a big question to get us thinking. We usually think of power in terms of size, right? Like the biggest animals, the tallest trees. But what if the real movers and shakers on our planet, the forces that literally control life and death, were too small for us to even see?
Well, here's the thing. That's not a what if, it's our reality. Just take a look at this. It's simple bread mold. That fuzzy stuff you see? That's not one thing. It's a whole bustling city of countless tiny individual organisms. And this invisible world isn't just on old bread. It's in the air we're breathing right now, it's in the soil, and it's on pretty much every surface you can think of.
So what exactly are we talking about here? The official name is microorganisms, or you could just call them microbes for short. They are living things, but they're on a scale so incredibly tiny that we need powerful microscopes to even know they exist.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's explore this hidden world.
Now, scientists like to put things in categories, and for microbes, there are four major groups. You've got bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and algae. And then there are viruses. They're a really special case. Some scientists even debate if they're truly alive. They're kind of like these tiny little pirates that can only reproduce by hijacking the cells of a host. Pretty wild.
Now this is where it gets really, really interesting. Because while you might hear the word microbe or bacteria and immediately think of getting sick, a whole lot of them are absolutely essential for us to even exist. They're our microscopic allies.
Just think about what you've eaten today. Maybe you had some yogurt or curd? Well, you can thank a type of bacteria called lactobacillus for that. It gets to work in warm milk, multiplies, and turns it into curd. They're basically the invisible chefs in our kitchens.
The magic trick behind a lot of our favorite foods is a process called fermentation. This is where microbes, like yeast, basically eat sugar and transform it into something totally new, like the alcohol in beer or that tangy flavor in sourdough bread. And for a long time, this was just a mystery, until the absolute genius Louis Pasteur figured it all out way back in 1857. He completely changed food science forever.
So seriously, every single time you see a loaf of bread rising in the oven, you're watching fermentation happen in real time. The yeast is essentially just breathing out tiny bubbles of carbon dioxide. Billions and billions of these tiny gas bubbles get trapped in the dough, which forces it to expand and gives us that light, fluffy texture we all love. Without this microscopic helper, our bread would just be a flat, dense brick.
And their role as lifesavers? It's absolutely incredible. It was Edward Jenner who first used a microbe to create the world's first vaccine for smallpox. And then, in 1929, you have Alexander Fleming, who famously noticed that some green mold, penicillium, was actually killing the bacteria on his lab dishes. And just like that, we got penicillin, the first antibiotic, which totally revolutionized medicine.
And it's not just about us. Microbes are basically the planet's ultimate cleanup crew. They break down all the dead plants and animals, returning crucial nutrients back into the ecosystem. Some, like the blue-green algae you see here, can do something amazing. They can literally pull nitrogen gas straight from the air and fix it into the soil. This is like a natural fertilizer, and it's what makes it possible for plants, the very ones that feed the entire world, to grow.
So the main takeaway here is that microbes aren't just along for the ride on planet Earth, they're running the engine room. They bake our bread, they brew our drinks, they create medicines that save our lives, and they enrich the very ground beneath our feet.
But that's only half the story, because for every friendly microbe out there helping us, there's another one that sees us not as a partner, but as a host, a target. And this is the dark side of the microbial world.
These harmful microbes have a specific name. We call them pathogens. They are the agents of disease. They're the invisible enemies that can invade and do serious harm to living things, from the smallest plant to us. And boy, are they good at spreading. They can float through the air when someone coughs or sneezes. They can contaminate our food and our water. They can pass from one person to another through simple touch. And they can even hitch a ride on carriers, like mosquitoes or flies.
And all this leads to what we call communicable diseases. You've got tuberculosis, caused by bacteria that just hang in the air, or something like malaria, which is caused by a tiny protozoan delivered through a mosquito bite. Every pathogen has its own sneaky strategy for spreading, which makes the fight against them so incredibly challenging.
And we humans are definitely not the only targets. Pathogens attack all across the tree of life. On the left here, that's an amoeba, a single-celled organism that can cause really bad diseases in animals. And on the right, that's citrus canker, a bacterial infection that can completely wipe out entire orange groves, which directly threatens our food supply. It's a constant battle, and it's happening on all fronts.
But, this isn't a one-sided fight. Not at all. The threat is definitely real, but humanity has gotten incredibly clever at fighting back. Over the past couple of centuries, we've come up with some genius ways to tip the scales back in our favor.
One of our absolute greatest weapons is the vaccine. Think of it like a training simulation for your immune system. By introducing a dead or super weakened version of a pathogen, we teach our body how to recognize it and how to defeat the real enemy, all without us having to actually get sick. It's like giving your immune cells a most wanted poster.
We also got really smart about protecting our food supply. We figured out that microbes have weaknesses. They hate really salty, sugary, or acidic environments. They can't handle extreme heat or cold, and they obviously can't get to food if it's sealed away in an airtight container. This is the whole science of food preservation.
And probably one of the most famous methods is pasteurization, named after the man himself, Louis Pasteur. By just heating milk up enough to kill off the bad bacteria and then cooling it down super fast, we can make it safe to drink and stop it from spoiling. It's such a simple but brilliant trick, and it saved millions of people from getting sick.
So we've seen the good, we've seen the bad, our friends and our foes. But the true story of microbes is actually way bigger than that. If we zoom all the way out, we start to see that they aren't just influencing our lives. They are the fundamental engine that drives the entire cycle of life on this planet.
And nothing shows this better than the nitrogen cycle. So look, our atmosphere is packed with nitrogen, but plants can't just breathe it in like we do with oxygen. It's the microbes down in the soil that grab that nitrogen from the air and convert it into something that plants can use. The plants use it to grow, animals eat the plants, the whole system just works because of them. Seriously, without these microscopic nitrogen fixers, the foundation of our entire food web would just fall apart.
Which brings us to a final thought. For most of human history, we didn't even know these things existed. Then we discovered them, and we realized they were both our greatest allies and our most dangerous enemies. Now, we've learned how to harness their power and how to defend against their attacks. So the real question is, what comes next? As we learn more and more about this vast, powerful, invisible world, how is our relationship with it going to change?